Welcome back to the channel, friends. Welcome back to our kitchen on our homestead. Today we're going to be making for you a no-knead Dutch oven style bread that's really fast and easy. Stay with us. So here's something really cool. I'm gluten intolerant. How am I making bread? Well, this wheat is an ancient wheat and I can eat it and digest it. Maybe you can too. Well, let me tell you why. We appreciate you being here with us. If you're new to the channel, go down below, hit the subscribe button, the little notification bell next to it, and give us a thumbs up on the video. All right, let's get back to baking our bread. So this wheat is called Einkorn. Einkorn is an ancient strain of wheat. It still has gluten in it. However, the strands, the way the gluten structure is within this wheat is completely different from modern wheat. We usually buy it in two different forms. We buy the wheat berries and grind them ourselves with our KitchenAid attachment grinder. This is the all-purpose version of the Einkorn wheat, and we usually buy this at our local health food store. I'll leave all links to all these in the description below. Before we get to the recipe, let me tell you about this wheat. I found out I was gluten intolerant a year and a half ago, and it was kind of devastating to me because I love bread, and I could not eat anything with gluten in it at all. No salad dressing, no nothing, because glucose derived from wheat is in salad dressings and things like that. I've had to completely change my diet. It was a blessing when I found this and heard about it, and I can eat it with no problem. It comes straight from Italy, and Italy has standards in what they spray on their wheat, as well as this being the ancient wheat with a different gluten structure. I think those two things combined help me, or help people who are gluten intolerant, to be able to digest this one. So let's show you how to make this really easy recipe. Here is what you are going to need for this recipe: a mixing bowl, a liquid measuring cup, a dry measuring cup, a 1 cup size, and then a 1/4 teaspoon and a 1 teaspoon measuring spoon, and a spatula. Ingredients are some extra virgin olive oil, which is actually optional, salt, instant dry yeast. Now make sure it's instant dry, not active dry. Our flour, either the all-purpose flour or the ground whole wheat flour from the wheat berries. We actually combine both, and we will be doing that in this recipe. In our mixing bowl, we are going to combine 3 cups of flour. Now, I usually go 1 cup of AP flour to 2 cups of whole wheat flour. Next, we are going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, and then just 1/4 teaspoon of the instant dry yeast. You may add more, but 1/4 teaspoon will work. Now, do not worry. You can add instant dry yeast, which is dry, next to the dry salt. It's not going to kill it. If you do active dry and you're putting salt with the wet moisture of the solution to bloom that other yeast, then it will kill the yeast. But in this case, the ingredients are dry and they will not react with one another. That salt is not going to kill the yeast in this dry mixture here. Next up, the water. Now in this case, we want very hot water, but not scalding water. We don't want to kill the yeast, and at this temperature of 110 degrees, the yeast will not be killed. You can do between 105 and 110 degrees. Any kitchen thermometer will work. For this particular recipe, we're only going to use 1 cup of the very hot water. In our previous recipe, which you can find right here, we utilized 1.5 cups. And that is because this type of flour absorbs the water at a different rate as the other type of flour. So we just start mixing our water in, and you will see a sticky dough form, and that is the type of dough that you want for this recipe. Here's what it should look like. This is our sticky dough, and at this point you can add the olive oil if you wish, and only about a tablespoon. The last step of this initial process is to cover our bowl with some cling film. We're then going to cover it with a towel and set it in a warm place for about 4 hours. So this einkorn flour works perfectly for a no-knead recipe because it doesn't require kneading. If you overwork or over-knead an einkorn-based bread or dough, then it doesn't work at all. So it's perfect for this recipe. So for this recipe, we are going to use our Dutch oven, or one of our Dutch ovens. If you don't have a Dutch oven, don't worry. You can use 2 bread pans. You're going to need these 2 bread pans. We're going to put them together so it captures the steam. That's how this process works. And use some of these huge paper clips to clamp them together. Make sure they're the metal ones because obviously it's got to go in the oven. So utilize 2 of these large clips here and you've got yourself a homemade Dutch oven. So we let our dough rise for 4 hours. What we're going to do now is turn it out onto a little bit of flour. We're just going to quickly kind of coat it and turn it over on itself a few times, and not kneading it at all. Just turn it over on itself a few times and put it on a piece of parchment paper. Put that parchment paper back in the bowl here and put the towel back over it for another quick, short little rise. Now we're waiting for that second rise to happen. We're going to turn on our oven to 400 degrees and we're going to put our Dutch oven inside of our oven to let it heat up, because you want it to be nice and hot when you set that bread down inside of it. Now that our bread has had time to do its second rise, our oven is up to temperature, our Dutch oven is up to temperature, it's time to place it in the oven. Now what we're going to do is pull it out and notice the top is on. We want to leave that top on for that first period of cook time for this bread. We're going to put it down inside the Dutch oven, put our top back on. That is going to cook like that for 30 minutes at 400 degrees. After that 30 minutes is up, we're going to take the top back off and cook it for the last 15 minutes without the top on. Our bread's out of the oven, it's cooled down. Let's cut into it and show you what the crumb looks like. Before I cut into this bread, I want to talk a little bit about why it looks the way it does. Now, I don't like a really hard crusted bread. It just cuts the roof of my mouth and I don't enjoy it. So this is maybe a little bit more blonde than some others might make. You can see it's got a nice color on the bottom, and put it next to the microphone here. It's nice and crusty, at least to my liking, on the top. You may cook it longer if you like. Now, also, this bread may look a little different because of the type of wheat that we've used. We've used the Einkorn wheat. You can see it's nice and crumbly. It's got a little bit more of a dense crumb in it. Now, you may also elect to do a little bit more yeast, but I'm going to tell you that the reaction with the yeast with the Einkorn isn't going to get your crumbs super huge and big wide pockets of gas forming on the inside. But to my liking, this is really beautiful and it is incredibly flavorful. It's not like a wheat bread you've had before. It's got a ton of flavor packed in there. It's really, really tasty. Like I said, it's unbelievably flavorful. That olive oil, perfect amount of salt. I'm so happy that I can at least eat some sort of bread. It's not made out of tapioca or some silly thing like that. Actual wheat. It's fantastic. Now I want you to go check out this video right here, which shows you how to make fresh raspberry jam without the use of pectin.